pancetta, mushroom, tortellini. You can eat smart, still fit in your bikini. I ordered Blue Apron, I've been happy ever since. They sent pre-portioned meals, I don't make no measurements. Saute the pancetta, then I add the mushrooms. Large skillet, cause you can't have too much room. Garlic pesto, tomato paste, Calabrian chili, season the taste. Order Blue Apron today.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
How do you know someone is home as soon as you walk inside? There is an energy to the presence of another person nearby. Something in the air shifts. That's how Bill felt when he returned to the room. He stopped just inside the threshold. The machine responded. A ripple of light passed through its structure, slower than before, deliberate. The motion wasn't triggered by equipment this time. Bill hadn't activated a single sensor. He was still, breathing, watching. Dr. Voss stood behind the observation barrier, hands clasped behind his back. He said nothing. Bill approached on instinct tempered by discipline. Step by measured step, he closed the distance, aware of the subtle changes in pressure, in temperature that instruments barely registered, but his body did. His heartbeat remained steady. He felt welcomed. That realization unsettled him more than fear ever could. He lifted a handheld scanner, hesitated, then lowered it again. Instead, he focused on the machine's motion, letting his eyes follow the shifting geometry. Where yesterday it had felt alien, abrasive in its wrongness, today there was coherence. Patterns emerged without effort, like familiar circuitry revealing its logic once you stopped fighting it. The machine adjusted. Panels rotated, aligning along axes Bill hadn't consciously considered, but somehow anticipated. He felt a faint pressure behind his eyes, not painful, more like the sensation of concentrating deeply on a complex problem. His breathing synchronized with the machine's pulse before he noticed it had happened. Dr. Voss leaned forward slightly. Bill raised his hand. He didn't touch it. He didn't need to. The machine brightened, filaments glowing with a soft, internal light that cascaded outward in waves. The hum deepened, resolving into something almost tonal. Bill's skin prickled as invisible fields brushed past him, mapping, measuring, learning. This isn't reaction, Bill said quietly, surprised at how calm his voice sounded. It's adjustment. Voss did not answer. Bill shifted his stance, turning his body a few degrees. The machine mirrored the movement, its geometry rotating to maintain alignment. A quiet understanding settled over him. This wasn't about commands or control. It was about relation, orientation, proximity. He thought of the signal in the desert, of how it had changed when he acknowledged it. The machine pulsed again, closer now, denser. Bill felt a strange warmth in his chest, not emotional, not physical, but something in between. A recognition without language. He realized with a start that he wasn't just studying the machine's behavior, he was learning how to be with it. Behind the glass, Voss's expression had gone carefully blank. Minutes passed, or seconds, time bent softly around the interaction, stretching thin. Bill's awareness narrowed until there was only the machine's rhythm and his own thoughts moving in parallel. He lowered his hand. The machine stilled. Not inert. Waiting. The connection easing without snapping. He stepped back, and only then did the hum return to its previous baseline. For the first time since entering the facility, Bill smiled. It feels familiar. The next session with Elena was quieter. Bill was led to the same sterile examination suite, sensors waiting like patient instruments on the table and along the walls. But today, she said almost nothing. Instead, she worked with a precision that felt deliberate, almost reverent. Electrodes were attached to his scalp, fiber optic sensors aligned along his spine, monitors calibrated to track every pulse of neural and cardiovascular activity. Each movement was deliberate, each measurement recorded automatically. Bill sat calmly, letting the process unfold around him. He had no argument, no resistance. The way Elena moved, the quiet efficiency, mirrored the discipline Voss had instilled in him when he first arrived. She didn't offer commentary or reassurance, only the occasional glance at her tablet to confirm data. They began with baseline readings, heart rate, oxygenation, galvanic skin response. Then came cognitive tests, puzzles and pattern recognition tasks designed to strain mental flexibility while they recorded subtle shifts in brain activity. Some sequences involved visual anomalies reminiscent of the machine's shifting design, designed to see if his mind still resonated with the impossible. Bill noticed he was calmer than before. His pulse rose, but in patterns that were predictable. His responses were measured, almost anticipatory. Every so often, Elena paused the equipment, her expression neutral, then moved silently to adjust the sensor. No words, no hints, just observation.
The system is monitoring everything. Your reactions, how your body adapts, your mind.
Bill nodded. I understand. Elena made a note, then stepped back and observed in silence as the monitors continued to hum, capturing every fluctuation of his physiology. It was methodical, precise, coldly clinical, and somehow intimate in its scrutiny. Hours later, the session concluded. The sensors retracted, cables and electrodes disappearing into storage panels in the walls. Elena gave him a single nod, no praise, no critique, before asking,
Are you hungry, Bill?
A tray was set before him with silent precision. The food looked simple, but there was nothing ordinary about it. A smooth, pale cylinder of something soft and slightly translucent sat on the plate. Beside it, a small mound of greenish paste glimmered faintly, interspersed with irregular, almost crystalline fragments. A liquid in a shallow bowl shimmered with a faint iridescence, as if refracting more than light. Subtle energy, almost imperceptible, danced across its surface. Bill picked up his utensils, eyes scanning the room. The other tables were empty, not a single person, yet the sensation of being observed was nearly overwhelming. He couldn't place it. Not cameras, he would have noticed the lenses. Not staff, there were none in sight. Yet the feeling persisted, pressing from angles he couldn't define. He took a careful bite of the cylinder. The texture was silky, almost liquid in the mouth, but with a rigid resistance that suggested structure. The flavor was impossible to classify. Familiar, yet not. Sweet, earthy, slightly metallic, fleeting hints of something he had tasted in childhood but could not name. Each bite seemed designed to sharpen his senses rather than satisfy hunger. The green paste followed. It spread across his tongue and seemed to alter the way he perceived the textures of everything else in his mouth. He swallowed, and for a moment the room seemed to hum louder, a vibration that he couldn't tell if it was coming from the air, the floor, or himself. The iridescent liquid completed the meal. A single sip left a lingering tingle behind his teeth, a subtle warmth that spread through his chest. He drank again, curious if the effect was cumulative, and felt his mind sharpen, muscles settle, focus intensify. The sensation of being watched lingered. It was everywhere and nowhere. Sometimes he felt it at the edges of his vision, a shadow that dissolved when he turned. Sometimes it pressed from above, though the ceiling showed nothing. Bill set down the spoon, still unable to define the food, the taste, or even the chemical nature of what he'd eaten. He finished the last sip and exhaled. The hum faded slightly, but the presence remained, patient, inscrutable, just beyond perception. The tray vanished automatically, leaving the table bare. Bill rose, muscles stiff, and stepped toward the corridor. He could not shake the feeling that even now, before returning to his quarters, he was being measured. Not by sensors, not by Elena, not by Voss, by something else. Bill walked back to his quarters, the corridor feeling unusually long. Bill lay in bed, muscles sore from the day's sessions, his mind buzzing with the lingering patterns of the machine. The soft hum of the lights overhead pressed against the quiet of the night, persistent, unyielding. He wanted darkness, sleep, relief. But he was too tired to get up and flip the switch. Every fiber of him ached from hours of observation, analysis, restraint. Then, almost without thinking, he willed it. The lights dimmed. A fraction of a second later, they went out completely. Bill blinked against the sun darkness. His hand had stayed on the blanket. He had not moved. Slowly, he willed the lights back on. The room glowed again, gentle and bright. He tried again. Off, on, off, on. No switch, no motion, only thought. The room obeyed. Bill awoke, feeling like a new man. His mental sharpness felt magnified by 1,000. He could not wait to begin the new day. The dining room was quiet when Bill arrived for breakfast, the light diffused and even. He was led to a small table by the same corridor he had grown accustomed to navigating. Dr. Voss was already seated, his hands folded in front of him, eyes flicking occasionally toward the tray as though calculating something beyond nutrition. Today, there was a tension in his posture, a subtle stiffness that Bill hadn't noticed before. Bill slid into the seat across from him. The tray was set with precision, a pale, gelatinous cylinder, a small mound of green paste flecked with crystalline shards, a shallow bowl of the iridescent liquid. He took it in without comment, hands resting lightly on the table. Voss broke the silence.
Do you remember the last time you ate outside of this facility?
Bill considered the question before answering, "Yes, my mother's pancakes." Voss's lips twitched, almost a smile, almost a grimace.
I imagine those taste very different from this, yes?
Bill nodded, keeping his movements small, deliberate. They do. Voss leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing.
Do you ever miss ordinary things?
Bill tilted his head, weighing the answer. Sometimes. The questions continued, mundane, almost banal.
Did you have a favorite color as a child? Do you prefer cold or hot mornings? Ever get seasick?
Each one seemed designed to measure rhythm, pause, attention, and the small involuntary movements, the way a person reacts under the pressure of observation. Bill answered with calm precision. His posture didn't change, his hands didn't tremble. He chewed slowly, methodically. He sipped the liquid, the subtle shimmer rolling across the surface, and swallowed without a twitch. And then, as Voss reached for his cup, Bill flexed his fingers minutely, willing the light above them to dip. Just a fraction, a tiny flicker, barely noticeable. Voss's gaze shifted for an instant, catching the movement, but he said nothing. The lights returned to full brightness without a word, as if nothing had happened. Bill's hands lay flat on the table, motionless. He continued eating, every motion controlled, measured, precise. Yet the small confirmation of power, the tiny assertion of something previously impossible, lingered in the corner of his mind like a silent pulse. Voss shifted in his seat. Bill noted it too, careful not to react. The questions continued, but their edge had changed. Voss's unease was visible now, subtle but undeniable, and Bill's calm composure only reinforced it. The breakfast went on, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in its silent undercurrents. Voss leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled in front of him, eyes fixed on Bill with an intensity that made the controlled calm of the morning feel taut. He sipped the iridescent liquid, swallowed, then set the cup down carefully.
Bill, are you ready to return to your studies?
Bill nodded, eyes steady. Yes. Voss stood, signaling that the session was over, the meal complete. He reached for the door panel, hand hovering just above it. The faint hiss of airlock systems primed in the background. And then, before Voss could touch anything, the door slid open on its own. A brief pause of silence. The corridor beyond was empty. Voss's eyes narrowed, a small tightening at the corners of his mouth. Bill's pulse didn't rise, but he noted the shift. The door had acted before command. Not a failure of protocol, not a mechanical glitch. Something else. Voss's hand twitched toward the panel, but he said nothing. Instead, he gestured for Bill to follow. The unspoken warning hung in the air. Bill rose, tray cleared, posture precise, and stepped through the threshold beside Voss, nodding and smiling as he passed him by.
I'll meet you in there, Bill.
Bill walked the long corridor alone, back towards the room which contained his friend. Bill approached the machine cautiously, deliberately. It pulsed faintly as he drew near, lights rippling through the machine in subtle waves. The response was immediate, but not forced, like a recognition rather than reaction. Bill adjusted his stance slightly and the panels rotated, aligning with him as if maintaining a geometry meant only for his presence. He moved a small probe toward one filament. The filament pulsed, brightened slightly, then retracted as though yielding space for him. Bill pulled back, then pushed forward again, experimenting. Each time, the machine seemed to meet him halfway, its motion softer, more responsive, more attuned. Minutes passed, or hours. Bill lost track of time. He didn't speak, he didn't touch more than necessary, yet in every micro movement, in every shift of light and geometry, there was an exchange, a quiet understanding. At one point, he stepped back entirely. The machine continued its subtle motion, maintaining patterns that seemed oriented toward him alone. He could feel the faint pressure of its energy fields against his skin. Not harmful, not alarming, but intimate in a way that defied explanation. Bill lifted his hand slightly, not touching, and the panels rotated minutely, following his gesture. He tested again, more deliberately, and the machine adjusted again, almost obediently. He moved closer, tracing a line of filaments with his eyes. The machine reconfigured, leaving a clear path, as though inviting him to study it more closely. He followed, methodically documenting every shift, every flicker, every subtle interplay of light and field. Time passed. The patterns deepened. Bill adjusted, rotated, aligned. Each move mirrored, softened, enhanced by the object itself. It was no longer alien. Not entirely. Not exactly alive, but it was present. And it acknowledged him. When he finally stepped back, the session ended without ceremony. No voice from Voss, no instructions, just Bill and the machine. He turned to leave. Voss was nowhere. Not on the observation deck, not in the doorway, not anywhere in the visible facility. Bill walked away, but as he stepped through the door, he heard something. It was a sound unlike anything he had ever heard before. Through the static and electricity, this machine spoke. Bill settled into the examination chair, the familiar cold leather pressing against his back, sensors already attached along his scalp and spine. Elena moved silently around him, adjusting monitors and recording data with her usual precision. At first, the session began exactly as expected. Reflex tests, pattern recognition puzzles, memory exercises designed to gauge attention and processing speed.
Focus on the sequence. 3, 6, 9. Now repeat it backwards.
Bill did so effortlessly, his responses measured, precise. She nodded.
Good. Keep breathing evenly. Let's try the next pattern.
Everything seemed normal, nothing unusual. Bill relaxed slightly, confident in the rhythm of the test. And then Elena's tone shifted, almost imperceptibly, though she remained quiet, almost detached.
Bill, how long have you been here?
He blinked, confused at the sudden shift. 3, maybe 4 days. She made a note.
Where were you born?
Arizona, near the desert, he replied, still following the rhythm of the questions, but something in her phrasing made his stomach tighten. She moved closer, eyes scanning the readouts.
What is your mother's name?
The words hit differently. Bill froze. His mind searched, grasping for the familiar warmth of memory, the sound of her voice, the name he'd said 1,000 times. But nothing came. He stammered, heart rate climbing slightly. I can't remember. Elena's expression didn't change. She didn't move to comfort him, didn't repeat the question. The sensors along his skull, spine, and fingertips registered spikes in real time. Every micro-expression, every hesitation, every pulse of uncertainty was recorded. Bill's eyes widened. He tried again, desperate. I know it. I know it, but, His mind offered no answers. Not a single fragment, not even a hint. And then, for the first time since arriving at the facility, Bill realized he had no recollection of her name. No way to summon it, no hint, nothing. The room held him in silence. The monitors hummed, Elena remained calm, and Bill sat, suspended in the impossible gap between memory and oblivion. Bill sat frozen in the chair, the monitors quietly recording every microspike of his confusion, panic, and rising dread. Elena adjusted a sensor along his spine, stepping toward the door.
I'll return after the next cycle of tests. Try to stay calm.
Bill's chest tightened. Something in him snapped. His hand shot toward the panel near the door. The locks engaged. The door clicked shut. Elena froze. Don't leave. His voice trembled, low and sharp. Her expression softened, almost maternal, her tone gentle and even.
Bill, everything will be all right. Please open the doors.
His breath came in short bursts. Every muscle in his body felt charged. The hum of the monitors seemed louder, more insistent. His jaw tightened. His vision narrowed. Tell me my mother's name! His voice cracked and roared through the small room, reverberating in a way that made the sensors spike violently. The words weren't just words. They were a command, a demand, a cry from somewhere deeper, primal, terrifying even to himself. Elena's eyes remained calm. Her voice stayed gentle, unwavering.
Bill, please open the doors.
His hands shook, the locks disengaged. The doors clicked and slid open.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill sank into the chair, still trembling. The monitors captured it all, the spikes, the micro-tremors, the terror. But the room itself was calm, the light steady. That absence, the blank hole where her name should have been, hung between them like a living thing, a new, dark entity which had occupied the space between their worlds. Bill melted into his bed, muscles trembling and mind racing. The events in the examination suite churned through his thoughts, fragments of his life slipping and twisting, while his mother's name was nowhere to be found. He pressed his palms to the mattress, trying to anchor himself, trying to will clarity into his disoriented mind. Images of the machine, the way it had responded to him, Elena's calm, measured voice, all of it pressed into the edges of his awareness, impossible to dismiss. He closed his eyes, inhaling slowly, trying to center himself. And then, slowly, he became aware of something. The weight of his body didn't feel quite right. The pressure of the mattress was less. He opened his eyes. The room was normal, the furniture in place, the light steady, yet every instinct screamed at the floor, the bed, the walls. None of it was anchoring him as it should. He looked down. He tried to sit up, and his head tilted slightly without resistance as if the air itself had softened. A cold, sudden awareness washed over him. He was not lying on his bed. Bill was floating.
Mom, I like to propose a dinner optimization plan for 2026. Soccer practice every week. Get back late and you're stressed out about making something fast, but actually nutritious for dinner. When Ashley's mom picked me up, I noticed that she made Blue Apron. It came in like a little kit, and by the time it was ready, I still had shin guards on. And it was real food, fresh veggies, protein, actual flavor. Take her from the younger generation. We're innovators, giving a couple Blue Apron meals around. Not the worst idea.
Get $50 off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code STIR50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.